Hare Krishna, Gauranga. So another 30 key verses of the Bhagavad-Gita. This one is Bhagavad-Gita 4.7. Famous verse, this one. And I say this every time, yeah, but this one, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, was actually spoken at the end of the Vishnu Sahasranam. It comes as one of the verses there, alongside being, of course, spoken in the Bhagavad-Gita. So it's quite well known to, I suppose you could say, Hindus as well as devotees in the ISKCON or in Gaudiya Vaishnava in general. So let's have a little look at this one. Quite a bigger purport than some of the last couple of ones, but I'll try to break it into some bits as we go along, and just hopefully I can maybe add something nice to what Srila Prabhupada's already put there. Main focus being on, of course, Prabhupada's purport hearing. And again, keeping in mind this is just an introduction, just to let us know what these 30 key verses are, so we can go off and study them in more detail. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So chapter 4, text 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanama dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and the predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Purport by the English Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There is one point to make here on the actual translation, is that we heard from the last shloka that I covered, Evam Parampara Praptim, kind of what was a bit of the history of the Bhagavad Gita. And now the Lord's saying this is why He appears. So He said that the Bhagavad Gita has been getting spoken like that for millions of years throughout history, transcending yugas, transcending ages, not just, millennia and so on and so forth. He's been going through millions and millions and millions of years, But now He's saying, okay, this is why. Because that's one of the important questions. If we say something happens, the next question is usually to ask why it happens. So the Lord's saying He's coming, or He comes, or has come, and will come again. But we've got to also ask, why did you come? Who wanted you to come? What was your need to come? What was our need that you came? So, this Prabhupada goes on to say here, the word Srijami is significant herein. Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation, because according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existing. We can take from this that the Lord manifests Himself. So Prabhupada says, therefore Srijami means that the Lord manifests Himself as He is. The Lord doesn't take a material form when He comes here. The Lord never has a material form. His presence here in the material world doesn't contaminate Him, doesn't get Him into, He doesn't become conditioned, He doesn't pick up any karma, He doesn't, relinquish His godhood or anything like that, He is eternally the Supreme Person of Godhead, and He eternally appears and disappears in His own free will. There's a concept in Islam that the reason that they don't show any image of God is simply because that would make Him material. By showing who He is, we make him material. Which means we lessen His potency. But when the sun puts out, Prabhupada describes it that the sun rays, we are the sun rays, and Krishna is the sun. The sun is not any less hotter because the sun rays are going out all over the world, all over the universe, in fact. So this idea that Krishna appears here doesn't mean that Krishna becomes less than He is, and he's not contaminated by His own material energy. He's the source. Again, we quote this famous Chatur Shloki verse of Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, which we'll come to a bit further down the line. I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. So why would He be contaminated by His material energy? By coming here. although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 20th millennium of the 7th Manu and 1 day of Brahma, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. So there's that point. He can come and go as he pleases. If Krishna wants to or feels the need to, he can come. And of course now, we know that in Kali Yuga, Krishna is here, present in his holy name. So he's always here. Wherever there's the chanting of the holy name, Krishna is there. You know, Lord Chaitanya dances on the tongue of a devotee who chants the holy name purely. So Krishna is always present, you know. He's always present as the super soul in the heart. That's the other thing. But personally speaking, as an incarnation, you know, he comes on scheduled times. Why? Because we can predict. You know, people also put a lot of importance on prediction. You know, and we can see that these different appearances. There's a chapter in the Bhagavatam about that, the scheduled appearances of the incarnations and who's going to come and when they were going to come, what they were going to look like, who their parents were going to be, and so on and so forth. And these are things that are important because scholars and scientists and atheists and debaters and you know, debunkers and so on and so forth will try to come up with these points to find a way to go around the validity of this philosophy, this science of Krishna consciousness and the appearance of the Lord. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. And we heard, of course, from that verse, Savai Pumsam Parodharmo Yato Bhattara Toksaji, Ahai Ati Prihata Yayatma Suprasiti, the supreme occupation is that, you know, or Dharma is that which brings one closer to Krishna. So when true religion is gone, you know, and this irreligiosity, which is pretty much the nature of this Kali Yuga age, then the Lord says, okay, I have to get down there, you know, so to speak. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. Powerful point, heavy point. We always spoke about, and I have mentioned this myself on these videos, classes, whatever you want to call them, about Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So anything outside of those three checklists, those three checks and those three ticks in the box, then that's a religion. Anything outside of the instructions of the Bhagavad-Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, then that's, you know, adharma. You know, it's against the teachings of God. You know. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. And this is the point. Prophets don't make up systems. The prophets take what's given by God and spread it. So only Krishna can start a process. So that's, you know, because anything else then is speculation or personal, you know, benefit. You know, someone can start a thing, go with it, make some money, get some followers, get some fame, you know. But true religion is started by Krishna and spread by his representatives, the gurus, as we heard, even parampara praptim, the disciplic succession from one guru to another. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord himself to Brahma from within his heart. Therefore, the principles of Dharma or religion are the direct orders of the Supreme Persons of Godhead, Dharmantu Shakshad Bhagavad Pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad-Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord, and the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto him only and nothing more. So that's another verse that we'll cover. Sarva Dharman Parichajamamikam Sanam Praja. Right? Surrender to me. That's the conclusion of the Bhagavad-Gita, and where the Srimad Bhagavatam then takes off from there. You've surrendered, you've understood who Krishna is, what you're doing, you're going to perform Bhakti Yoga, and then you're going to accept the guidance of the spiritual master. And then you can then start to get into a relationship from there, you know. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender to him, and whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. So the Lord protects his devotees. He doesn't want this pure Krishna consciousness to be disturbed. So he comes himself to correct those who are standing in the way of this true religion, this Dharma of Krishna consciousness. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes in the Vedas, people of demoniac tendency still took to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. So this is this point Prabhupada's making that now. It's all been scheduled, it's all been put down so that the acharyas can tell that the Lord has come, you know. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same: to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in some disguised form. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam it expands a bit more on this principle. So you can, go off and have a look, first canto, second canto, at this these different types of avatars, like there's Yuga avatars, there's Leela avatars, there's Shakti Avesh avatars, which are empowered representatives. There's the Lord's main forms like Nrsingadev, Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar, it's called the Das avatars, like that. There's different important forms that come. The principles of the Bhagavad-Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in various circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the 4 stages of social life. So the 4 orders are Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. The 4 statuses are Shudras, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas and Brahmanas, as will be explained later. So this is also something you can go into a bit more depth in the Bhagavad-Gita. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under different circumstances. So this is the point. The Lord comes to re-establish the religious principles, because they're being covered over. That's all it is. Either the somehow or another the cyclic succession's been lost, it's been cut somehow, or it's been getting attacked and fought against by these demoniac entities on the planet who are, preaching heavily their speculative or demoniac conclusions, atheistic conclusions, Mayavad conclusions, or mode of ignorance, religious principles, which are against the pure teachings of Krishna consciousness, which are covering over the Lord's presence as the Supreme. So the devotees quickly all rally together when the Lord comes. Just like when Lord Chaitanya came, all the devotees all got together from all over the different parts of India, and then they all came to the Lord's Harinam Sankirtan party, and then the kirtans were tumultuous, the preaching was going on unlimitedly in that sense when Lord Chaitanya was around. And of course that gathered so much steam that again sparked off the parampara system as one acharya to the other, and right down to to our Srila Prabhupada and our current ISKCON gurus who are continuing the preaching up to this date. Some 50 something years now into the society of ISKCON. And this is our purpose. This is the Krishna consciousness movement's purpose, is to arouse Krishna consciousness in the hearts of everyone. Now, whether that means that they become full-blown devotees, whether that means that you'll take to some spiritual life or some spiritual practice, whether that means that we can hope to enhance what you have already, then that's that to the degrees, that's that manifest and non-manifest under different circumstances. We can only hope and we can only desire as devotees that this Krishna consciousness will be there for everyone, because who wouldn't want something like that? We are experiencing some incredible bliss and realizations from practicing this. I know that we can get so many more devotees jumping on these videos, and this is definitely my request, is come on guys, out there. The COVID's going to go for a bit more time, it seems. So now we're limited in our personal face-to-face preaching. So let's really try to present it in this way, because we know that these videos, they can go out there to millions. I think I don't know if I said this the other day, but I'll say the same thing again. How many can we fit in a temple room? How many can we fit in an AMHAT program hall, or even these big whatever it is, concert halls or big massive buildings where we can speak, churches, whatever it is. How many people can you speak to in there? But through these videos you can speak to thousands, millions if it catches fire, if the Lord wills that you'll have that empowerment. So go for it, Let's hear the devotees' realizations. And whatever it is, it doesn't have to be Bhagavad-Gita, it can be anything that you're into in devotional service. But this is the point here. The Lord comes for that specific purpose, to spread Krishna consciousness, to re-establish, so that we can re-establish it in our hearts, and we can reconfirm it to ourselves by following these 30 key verses, and we can also re-establish it in the hearts of the other souls that are out there in this material world, going about their daily affairs alongside us, because we're also there, we're part of it. We maybe try to keep ourselves out of it sometimes, but we are also going about in the material world, so we should have that compassion, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.